Welcome to the Numbers Game with Miss Kim. Listen, folks, I am so excited. I have the pleasure and opportunity to interview my son, Mr. Isaiah Wilson. And we are actually sitting in one of his many to come investment properties. And we'll talk about that here shortly. So what is the Numbers Game? The Numbers Game is a podcast concept that I created that's based on health and wealth building and the importance of paying attention to the numbers in both categories, both mentally and physically health-wise, as well as wealth. And today we're going to do a little bit of a conversation with my son about wealth building and investment. So I'm actually going to yield for a moment and allow my son to speak. Okay, Isaiah, go ahead and tell the people about who you are.
All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Wilson. I am the son of Kimberly Wilson. And just a little bit about myself. I'm not going to bore you with what I do for a living just yet. But I am new to real estate investing. So this is my first property, but very excited about the wealth journey that I'm on. It's been a long time in the making. And I'm very, very excited to share some of the insight that I've learned in just this short journey. I closed on this property 2 weeks ago. So just finally getting settled in, and TV hung up and a little cricket, but it's going to be all right. And I'm just enjoying, just all what the hard work has meant. So I'm very grateful and excited to be here.
Awesome. And thank you for that, son. And just so that people are aware, I know your age, but what is your age today?
I am 25 years old currently.
Awesome. And that speaks volume. For me, it speaks volume. Yes, I'm biased as his mother, but if I was not your mother, I would still say the same, because and I won't say in your generation there's not any shakers and movers, but I will say that you're amongst the elite that's actually moving and shaking and making things happen for yourself in your life. So let's dive right on into this conversation. How did you come about acquiring this property?
Yeah, so a few things happened in my favor, and some may call it luck. I would refer to it as a blessing, but truthfully, just being prepared when the opportunity comes. Oprah says it, a lot of people say it, but luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I feel like God has prepared me for a long time to be ready for when the opportunity came, and when it came, I strike. So how it happened is a friend of mine, Donovan Adesoro, very popular builder, young guy like myself. He's 26. He built this property, and I had been trying to meet Donovan for 2 years. Well, a mutual friend of ours had been trying to get us together for 2 years. And so finally we were a part of a foursome at a golf event, charity golf event back in November. And we started talking. He said, well, I'm building these duplexes. I said, well, I'm looking for a duplex potentially, sometime next year, in 2023. He said, I have some to look at. I said, okay, send me the addresses. So we connected, and I drove a few sites, and it wasn't this property specifically. It was another site, and I wasn't just crazy about it. I mean, it could work. It was in the budget, but it just didn't speak to me. So I said, well, let me close a few more deals, build up my cash reserves a little bit more, and then I'll get back with you in January. Well, second week of December, he posted this property. It's the first one he designed this way. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It's a matte black duplex with exposed wood exterior in certain parts, and it just looks beautiful. It looks like the modern trend, mid-century modern that everybody likes, right? And the price point is just amazing. We'll talk about that. But so he posted on Instagram. He said, not only that, but I'm going to throw in all the appliances except for washer and dryers on each side, and 2 TVs. So I thought, wow, what an opportunity. I instantly sent him a message, got the price, and I said, well, that's a little over the budget, but I may be able to make it work. And that was Friday. Saturday morning, I got him a contract, and we negotiated the terms. And Monday morning, we were in the title company. So very, very important key, wealth building key, I would say, is just the relationships that you build. Really is a currency. There's such thing as a social capital. And when you're able to exercise that, it truly is a wonderful thing, especially when it's amongst friends, because, it makes that transition. The home buying process is very stressful. We had several extensions, 3 extensions actually, when trying to buy this property. I should have bought it back in February. I should have bought it at the end of January. That turned to February, which turned into the last day of February, which, had some significance as the last day of Black History Month. So it was just great to close on that day. But it's really been a journey, even with this, and to do it with people that you actually somewhat like, makes it a whole lot smoother. So, that was great. And like I said, I'm more than happy to share a little bit more about it, if you want to know.
Yeah, we'll get into it in just a moment. I do have a question for you. When you hear the word legacy, what comes to mind?
So when I hear the word legacy, well, it's very intimate and personal for myself and for our family. Just coming up as a kid, I really always looked up to my Uncle Robert, my grandfather, your father, and, just their entrepreneurial spirit as it pertained to being business owners at various points of time, listening to the stories about how significant some of the strides that, they made, or a lot of mistakes that could have been very significant strides they could have made, and realizing that I wanted to be the person that learned from those experiences and was able to execute something at some point in time. It just always intrigued me. It felt like a path of opportunity and freedom that building wealth and being intentional in that regard allowed for. So when I think about legacy, that's one fold of it, and making those people proud who came before me, including yourself, to make something of myself is something that's going to have impact beyond me being here. We all have a start and an end date, and it's about what you do in between.
That's correct.
The impact that you make that'll last forever. So that's what I'm working towards. And, beyond that, one day I plan to have a family for myself, and my kids and grandkids and their kids and grandkids. I want them to be able to have the ability to chase the passion that God has put in their life, the visions that they've been given, to go out there and execute on that without being held to standards of what we all deal with, which is life.
Right.
And getting out of the rat race is what Robert Kiyosaki would call it. Or,
right.
Really living below your means until you can have the means to do what you would like, or have some freedom and flexibility. What a Dave Ramsey made reference. For me, that is ultimately a goal personally, but like I said, I would love to see the impact of more people who share the same hue as you and I, really have that opportunity to experience that, because not many people, I realize that.
Right. So you said something that's key, that even for me in my own adulting, which is a new terminology I've learned from you and your sisters, is living below your means. What did that look like for you?
Yeah. So when I first moved to Houston about almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I had $32 to my name. I had to take a loan from granny and granddad to even be able to move for those costs and get set up. And truthfully, I really didn't have a whole idea of it. I had a job opportunity, accepted the position, didn't quite know how much money I was going to make, or if I would even be successful in my role, because a lot of it is commission based. And we were just stepping out on faith, because I was planning to be an investment banker as a finance major, as my background leaving school. So something totally different. And yeah, it just, I'm sorry, I'm blanking the question again. I'm sorry. You made me think about when I got started.
What is living below your means? What was that like?
So when I got here, that's my point. Okay, when I got here, I was living in a highfalutin apartment.
Highfalutin.
On Main and Main, right? Just how you kind of get the idea. And, pretty expensive rent. And she said, well, I'm experiencing it. I'm not from here. I'm safe. Let me try that thing out and see what that life is like. And although it was great and I was saving some money, I truly wasn't satisfied with the amount of savings, because I knew that one of my goals was moving to a market like Houston, where they have multifamily housing, which allows you to house hack. I mean, this was a long strategy that I had been having some early thoughts about. I said, I got to do something different. So I moved from a Class A apartment to a Class D apartment. And you know, where I'm from, we would call it the hood.
The hood.
So
it was, y'all. It was
so
the hood.
I went from appreciating and being grateful for a washer and dryer in my unit, God help me, to having to go to the laundromat. In modern times, as a business, up and coming business professional, where you trying to figure out, okay, I got to make sure this is clean for this event and this, that. And, you know, you go to wash it. So I was experienced myself going to wash track. I'd only been once before in my life. I've been fortunate. You know, we always had a washer and dryer for the most part.
Yes.
But going and they say, okay, well, you know, you got to get a car. I'm using my debit card to try to go in. And I'm looking at the machine like, y'all machines is broke now. I got to wash my clothes. And they're like, well, you got to go take the card and go to the machine, and the machine give you another card, and then you put, but you need cash. And I said, Lord help me today. This is a lot harder than trigonometry.
Just to wash clothes.
Just to wash clothes. And then they said, well, the laundry supplies ain't included. You got to bring that yourself. So I had to get my own tide, and I said, okay. So that was a learning curve experience, but I'm very grateful for it because I saved about $400 or $500 a month just by taking out what is most Americans' largest expense is where you live.
Yes.
So really cutting that down astronomically and being able to save. And I still had a great quality of life, but it just allowed a certain flexibility and freedom that I really enjoyed. And it truthfully is a big reason why I was able to do a deal like this and be comfortable to do it because of that savings and intentional movement. To do that. So that's what it kind of means to me. I'm a big proponent of it. You know, just because you make $100 doesn't mean you need to spend 150.
Right.
You know, rather try to live with 60.
Right.
And save the 40.
Right.
And you know, Warren Buffett says it best. You know, it's not about what you spend. It's not about what you save after you spend. It's about what you spend after you have saved.
Wow.
So if it's not a priority for you, and it's not something that's intentional and a non-negotiable in your life, I'm a firm believer that it won't be. And it won't be something that you'll ever just master because you don't give it a priority. It's like having a child, having a dog, having a spouse. It has to have, those things in your life must have first precedence over anything else. And saving is up there with those things in my life and in my opinion. Because when you treat it that way, it will treat you the way that you treated it in the times where you need it the most.
Gotcha. So when you hear the word wealth and you hear the word rich, what do you think?
I don't want to be rich. I'll tell you that now. I don't want to be rich. I would like to be wealthy, and that's far reaching beyond just financially for a second, but healthy. I would like to be healthy in my wealthy in my health.
Yes.
Long term, I'd like to be able to enjoy whatever I'm able to go out there and acquire with a good health balance, wealthy in relationships with people, friends, family, because that's what you are able to enjoy wealth with financially. And then obviously wealthy in finances, which is something that you have to commit part of your life to. It has to be something that's a long journey that you just commit to.
Yes, it is.
And you don't change on that. So
so would you agree with me? Being rich is like here today, gone tomorrow. Like getting a lottery ticket, winning a Powerball, you get tons of money and the taxes that come along with it. And then poof, you know, if it's not invested well, it could be gone. Is that you think that's kind of what you think a rich is?
Well, there's a bunch of rich people, but there's very few wealthy people, in my opinion. There's a lot of people that have lasting wealth that, you know, if they are gone today or you took all their tangible assets today, they'll have increasingly more tomorrow.
Gotcha.
And, you know, that just comes from intentionality, structures in place, you know, getting the life insurance, all of that is strategic work. And it's not something it's a different type of work. It's not something that you're necessarily out laboring for when talking about, you know, even if you just got a couple of dollars, it's about the principles that you just do not break on for anything or anybody, because, you know, hey, there's always tomorrow as long as God gives me air in my body and ability to think, read, and move and act. And so you must be prepared for that, because when you're not prepared, you know, you don't have a plan, and without a plan, you're just running in place.
Well, the famous quote is when you when you don't have a plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yes.
I mean,
no plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you understand.
All right. Oh yeah, you between whoopings and military speeches, we grew up listening to these sayings. So.
Exactly. So I am extremely proud of you, son, that you have taken a step with creating generational wealth just for Isaiah Wilson and your legacy. Now, I do realize that what you've done has catapulted my unit, and it's caused a little bit of a competition. I won't say a competition, a challenge between you and your siblings to say, okay, if Isaiah did this, then I need to, not necessarily match, but I need to raise my standard. And that's a healthy thing amongst the family. I think that it is. But acquiring this property and starting your wealth building, how long did it take for you to get to this point? What was your mindset?
So truthfully, I feel that this has been a almost 10-year process, and not really just looking at the asset itself for a second, but looking at the asset, which is me. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably more important. I've invested in a lot of books. Mm-hmm. I'm an avid reader, invested in my education, invested in my mindset about how this all works and the time it really takes in order to get the first step. But once you get the first step, it becomes increasingly easier to do the next few steps, right?
Gotcha.
That's something you just learn over time. And for me, just a little bit more granular, I think that I aligned my career. I realized I was in a sales-based career.
Okay.
So I was able to go out there and earn, what I keep, right?
Gotcha.
So I'll keep what I earn and investing in my craft, so that way my craft can fuel my passion.
Gotcha.
Or rather, let me take it a step further, investing in my craft, so that way my craft can invest into my investments, which would invest in my passion and purpose.
Gotcha.
And so I knew I couldn't do one without the other, and you had to invest in the craft in order to get the money to invest in the investments that would help me eventually invest in my passions and my purpose. So with looking at that breakdown, I said, okay, well, I got to commit to my career, commit to my journey there. And through the grace of God and just a lot of good old fashioned hard work, that has allowed me to build up some cash reserves, close some deals, build some great relationships. And that has taught me a thing or two, just even before this, looking at a larger scale, advising clients in the commercial real estate space, which is what I do for a living. So as a retail and land broker. So in doing that, I built the skill set, I built the relationships, I put in a lot of hard work. And then when the opportunity came to actually get a few dollars in my pocket, I said, instead of going to blow it all at the Galleria Mall, I do that a little bit, right? I like nice things, but that's just a small piece of what I had saved and what I was preparing for, because I knew this would establish a legacy like none other for our family moving forward. So.
And I'm grateful for that mindset. Now let's take 10 years off your off your age of 25, which makes you 15. And at 15, I'm gonna let you tell the audience what you told me that we were going to be doing when you were 15. Go right ahead.
So we have a family friend who's a McDonald's franchisee owner. He's done very well.
Yes.
I met him through my grandfather for the first time, just a one-time interaction.
Yes.
And I left that meeting saying, okay, I called I got home, I talked to my mom, I said, hey, I'm going to put you in McDonald's University when I get old, and we're going to buy a McDonald's franchise, and you're going to work there.
I'm going to McDonald's University.
You have to have a mindset of an owner from day one.
See,
ownership is you work to get it running, and then you hand it off to the people. I
know there's child labor laws. There need to be parent labor laws. but that's synonymous with your path from 15 to 25 and making those making the decisions along the way to get to where you are right now is it's amazing that you've been able to stay focused. What do you do to kind of keep your mindset focused?
Well, aside from my faith, I think that the daily investments, the daily deposits into yourself, whether that's having a good gym membership and actually using it, to books, material to further advance my knowledge, to investing in relationships with friends and associates and family, and truthfully just into the intentional, bar none, hold 'em that before anything and everything else outside of God and my family, there will be nothing that stops me from investing in myself in order to get me to whatever that plan looks like for myself. I try to, people don't ask me a whole lot. I'm not, some big hot shot. But the people who I do talk with, I also often tell them that, I'm not doing anything that you can't do. I'm not doing anything it's just particularly out of the ordinary. I think the difference is I take it very seriously, and I'm very intentional about every step I make and every decision I decide to do, because I know that we can have a ripple effect of consequences, both good and bad. And I think this property is just the result of a lot of good decision making that, quite frankly, I've been guided on, and it's paid off up until this point. So it's just an intentional investment. Yes. Right now, I'm not saying, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm gonna go buy $100 worth of books at the bookstore, and the tab is $125, but I only had 100, so now I got to use my credit card for that 25, right, or something like that. That's an intentional investment, because if the books are something that's going to build your wealth, it makes all the sense in the world. Now, if you go into the gallery and say, I'm going to get the Gucci's, then we may have to have a longer conversation about what exactly you intend to use them for, because I understand image is important. It is. But, you have to have a level of discernment and wisdom.
Yes.
Different times in your life where you decide to, do those things.
Right.
And so, don't just go to Cancun and say, oh, this is investment. This is investment into myself, into my future. God wanted me to be on the beach.
No.
Because wealth is here in the sand. I'm going to tell you today, the wealth is being collected as you spend the money on the margarita.
Exactly.
All right. It's more so. I'm not telling you to do that, but for me, that may look like, just having a periods of isolation to stay focused, to remind yourself to write things down, to do the vision boards, to do the steps, and be intentional and lean in on it, because it starts slow. But just as Jeff Bezos says, big things do start small.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I know that your grandparents and those that have gone before us, our ancestral history, I can feel the spirits just turning over and jumping for joy, because actually both sides of my parents' family, my dad's side, and I've mentioned this quite a few times, that we are wealthy people without the money. And that's not because of lack of, I don't know how to invest, or improper poor management, or just improper use of money. It's just that timing, I feel like on my dad's side, a decision was made to purchase property that the family still maintains. And from that, for me, that spoke volumes to me when I was your age. My business mindset turned over about the 10th grade, which I was about 15, the same age as you, and discovering, I have been out to the property several times, but discovering, wealth, that, wow, this family has this, what are we doing? How come we have, and I'm not going to go off into a tangent about it, but it's the fact that we have it set a tone for me, that I felt like that my legacy, I needed to do all I could to impart that knowledge onto my legacy. And you and your sisters, you all are listening to me, and I'm grateful of that. But aside of that, my at the same time, my ancestral past, it did not have they didn't know how. Let me just say it like that, because they did an awesome job with what God gave them, but they didn't know how to impart wealth and have conversations about money and credit, other than to go to work hard, save your money, try to retire well, to retire well, because there was no way they could predict the economy, us going through recessions how many times now. There was no way, none of them could see all of this coming. They just knew what was right in front of them at the moment. But having these conversations about wealth is not something that's taught in our education systems, at least for our community, from what I know. And having these conversations with you and your sister, I do the best that I can. Now, I did have a conversation about credit with you guys. How did that impact you?
Yeah, so we sat down and talked about it. It wasn't a fully extensive conversation. It was rather just the importance of having it and maintaining a good standing.
Yes.
Paying off your balances, etc. And from there, you talk about wealth. That's something that's one of my favorite things to talk about is money. Because usually I'm waiting for people to bring it to me.
Wow.
You gotta put it out there, right? You gotta put it out
That's
there.
That's right. Law of attraction.
All right. So, but no, from that conversation about a year or so ago, I really took it into high gear and got my first credit card. I didn't believe in them previously. I don't like debt.
I remember that.
And got my credit card, got approved. And, I started to watch some of my podcasts that I already watch anyway, but Earn Your Leisure, very popular podcast, and many other platforms. And they had episodes that talked about credit.
Yeah.
Really deep dived into it. And I took notes. And I said, okay, say under 30% utilization and pay off your balances. Don't spend more than what you have, to you're willing to spend from your checking account, right? And
right.
Some of those key principles, and then the difference between business credit and personal credit, and how to leverage certain things. And then you start getting to the fancy schmancy, travel cards, and how to leverage points and fly on vacation for free, etc. So that became a new world that I enjoy discovering. But at the same time, I watched my credit score jump almost 40 points in a year's time, just by being, I've never missed a payment. I'm not the type of person that will overindulge when it comes to finances, because I just always figure I don't want to be late. And if I have an opportunity to just stay below my means and do what I need to do, there's a few unexpected expenses, but if I have a plan, then I'll execute it. And so far those things have happened. And, it just, that conversation really impacted my trajectory, because it allowed for me to get an interest rate, which we'll talk about more, that's far below what the national average is right now.
Right.
Because of having good credit. And so that is 101 basis wealth building, because with a better interest rate, more of my money is going towards the principal, or really eventually more of my tenants' money will be going towards the principal to pay this down and increase my wealth in this house, my equity.
Yep.
All the while the property is appreciating at a rapid pace.
Right. And knowing your numbers, folks, in terms of dealing with your credit. I mean, it's simple conversation I had with him and his sisters was just simply that, what do you know your credit score? What does that look like? What method are you using to check it on a regular basis? I use my FICO, is what I told him, is my favorite, because my FICO.com is pretty instant.
You need an endorsement, my FICO.
That's right. We do need an endorsement.
The blessing of an endorsement.
Exactly.
Amen. This is episode window. We want to be endorsed from the beginning and not the end.
Exactly. But it allowed for me, when I was going through divorcing and becoming truly a single parent and having to lean on my credit more than what I wanted to, it kept me abreast of what was going on. And, queen payday loan, queen bad credit, queen no credit, queen slow pay, no pay, queen repo, and foreclosure. It sits right in front of you. And I'm not ashamed of my journey.
Hiding from the furniture.
Right.
Amen.
Exactly. Hiding from Rent-A-Center and Aaron's.
They parked the red Durango in the garage.
Yes.
And when you see them coming, you hide under the couch.
Don't answer the phone.
Y'all
if
be
it's
quiet.
not your grandmother, don't answer the phone. Exactly. So I am a great example of what not to do. I did know what to do is my circumstances as a single parent, because the necessities of raising 3 children that were stair-step was so great. Do you talk about living below your means? I had no opportunity to live below my means. I had to lean on credit. I had to lean on payday loans. I had to lean on Rent-A-Center and Aaron's. Thank you for the furniture. We still have some of it. Thank you very much. So I had to do some leaning not in such a good way. And it was my goal that you and your sisters started your adulting, which is a phrase I'm learning from your generation, that you were able to start your adulting in better off than what I did. And not that my parents didn't do a great job. Is that those were decisions that I made, and I had to suffer the consequences of my decisions. And it took a while for me to recover from those things. But coming out of that and being here where we are right now, I do know that God has promised me that in his word, I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor is seated begging for bread. So because of my blood, sweat, and tears, and your grandparents and the grandparents before that and the grandparents before that, and on down the line that have prayed for our future and prayed for our lives, I'm confident that you and your sisters you all will achieve the goals and things that God has placed in your path. You just have to just stand up, listen at times, and move when he tells you to move. Just be ready to be available. And I know that acquiring this property, God did that for you.
Right.
He made it so where this was such a sweet deal, and we'll get into that in just a moment, but that this was such a sweet deal that it was like, you're not going to pass this by. This is not something that was going to be here today, gone tomorrow. No, this is for what I want Isaiah to have at this time and at this moment. And I do want to tell you, no matter what happens from this day forward, because sure as good is present, so is evil. No matter what happens, God is there, right there with you to make sure that this does not move. Because this is the start for what's coming, the greater that's coming. Another scripture, and I'll get back to the questions that I'm living by since I retired July of last year, is that I came to give you life and to have it more abundantly. I came to give you life is how I perceive that we're able to get up, walk, breathe, get coffee, just have life. The abundance part is the work. You got to get out. You got to do the work. And the work for me and how I interpret God's word and how I've applied it to my life and taught my children is that it has to come from purpose and passion. And from that, your philosophies are developed, and God blesses you with the profit. So would you say that wealth building and or investment is a passion and or a purpose for you?
It's both for me. I truly see that, particularly the passion and purpose, I think are kind of run hand in hand. I truly believe that, particularly with our community, our wealth or the study of wealth is not our strongest subject.
No, it's not.
We fought for a lot of justices and a lot of different causes that we feel support our interests. Mm-hmm. However, I feel our economic justice is where we really should spend some more time. And that's what, I've dedicated my life's works to.
Yes.
And I totally chose my major in finance based on, I walked into College of Business and said to the advisor, who has the money? Why do they have the money? Why don't I have it? And why doesn't my community have it? And, I started off with economics and then accounting. But my grandmother, who was an accountant, your mother said, well, baby, I think you got a little more personality than that. Nothing wrong, nothing against accountants. Now, listen, if you want to accountant.com or anything accounting, you want to send a sponsorship. Like I said, sponsorship, we will receive it. But no, it truthfully, that's where my passion and purpose lie. And I think that I'm very fortunate because not many people, may have the same passion or purpose for their lives. But I'm glad it's this subject for me, because I think that there's some really great work that I could do to not only be an example, but rather help create opportunities to, allow for other people, regardless of where you're from, to do it for yourself.
Correct.
And for your family and for your legacy. Correct.
And that's powerful within what you're saying, having the passion to build wealth and investment. I don't know many people that would actually attach passion and purpose to wealth building and investment. In our community, sometimes that can be perceived a little rude, in a sense, for better lack of words. Like, oh my God, you're just in it for the money. And they'll say, oh, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Yes, that's true. However, it's what you do with that money is, and the motivation behind it, your intent. And when you're spending those dollars and acquiring a property or whatever, if it's for not for good, I don't want to say evil, but if it's for not for good, then yeah, then that scripture rings true. But for you, that's not what God has in your path. I've always told you that you have a calling on your life, and I'm not God, so I can't. I'm not in that hot seat to say, oh yeah, God has imparted wealth and investment as you do. No, that's not me. But it sounds right. Wow. It sounds like that wealth building and investment, being the end state of you being an investment, could be your ministry. And if that is the case, then I don't want to get into your future goals and putting it out there on with the audience right now. But it just having that in your mind, what did it feel like when you saw this opportunity as a viable opportunity? It's no longer a dream. When it became a goal, what did that make you feel like?
When I achieved it 2 weeks ago, I'm still reflecting. I think that it still hasn't set in. I think today I drove into the driveway on the side that I'm occupying, just saying thank you, Jesus, because truthfully, it's been something I envisioned, but this is much bigger and much better than what I even thought my start would be. And I'd love to talk about the numbers, because this is the numbers game, or the game of the numbers, Game of Thrones sponsorship. Speaking of, this is the time to talk about sponsorship. Game of Thrones
commercial.
If you want to sponsor, now listen, I'm one of the 1% that's never seen an episode.
I haven't either.
But
your uncle's seen every one.
But I will watch an episode and review it if you sponsor. We'll talk about numbers and games as well. So, I think just to give a little more insight there, since we're talking about it.
Yes.
So I got paid to buy this property. This is a free property. Now, this is a deal that you really don't see it happen. A lot of unique things have to fall in place. But I was positioned where my industry in commercial real estate, I already have a license. So a lot of things just kind of work together alongside the relationships and hard work. So the economics of the deal is the duplex is $370,000. Well, I paid $370,000 for it, and it appraised for $375,000. So I got a sliver of equity when I closed. My buddy who built it, I could negotiate with him. Hey, if you cover the closing costs, I will give you closer to asking price, and that would save me about $13,000 to $15,000 off the bat. I could have represented myself and made it more by doing the contract, but I took a time to say, let me build a relationship with another friend who's a realtor, another mutual friend of ours, and Chris Lane, and said, hey, Chris, you take 2% of the deal of your fee, and I'll get 1%. and it'll go towards my closing statement.
Are y'all all around the same age?
Yeah, so there's about 12 to 15 of us. I'm the youngest, 25 to about 33.
Okay.
We're all in real estate in different facets. We meet
like-minded people
every Tuesday, and we just kind of hang out and talk about what, our different sides of the business, because sometimes there's opportunities like this one for us to work together. Sometimes there's not, and just opportunities for us to learn. And it's very informal, and we just have a good time. And so Donovan, who I met at the charity golf event through one of my best friends in Houston, he had been trying to get us together for about 2 years. He mentioned a loan through the Bank of OZK called the Freedom Advantage Program. And it's targeted towards not just minorities, but anyone who meets one of their 3 criteria. One of the criteria is that the site is in a low income census tract neighborhood. That could be your route in, or etc. But the opportunity is that it's a 30-year mortgage, fixed interest rate, no PMI, 100% financing. And so that meant no down payment.
What is PMI?
Private mortgage insurance. So if you're not putting down 20% or more on a house when you buy it, then the banks usually, or the lenders usually, like for you to get private mortgage insurance, so that way they can ensure they're going to get their money back, and or a portion of it back. And so it's really big, because that saves you about $200 to $300 a month by not having that extra on your mortgage payment, by not having any PMI, which is an obstacle that a lot of people, something as small as that will keep someone from being able to afford a house, and then they won't do it, and you don't start that wealth creation process for yourself. Majority of Americans' wealth is in their homes, where you live. So just being able to recognize those things, I said, okay, what a great opportunity. And the remaining economics is, okay, you say no closing costs, no down payment, the realtor fee I get a piece of, which is $3,700, my 1%. Well, then that leaves everything. So I should get paid at closing. And I got a $3,300 check at closing. And I use that immediately to go and buy washer and dryers for both sides from Lowe's.
2 sets of washers and dryers. We left closing and went straight to Lowe's.
There you go. And so we've hit the ground running, and we have some tenants lined up, and it's great, but it's a stellar deal. I really do think that, just prepare for the opportunity, just a little bit more introspective, I guess, or granular. The money I was saving for a down payment and for closing costs, etc. I saved it because I didn't have to spend it, and so it's allowed me to have cash reserves to be able to be comfortable in getting this property and do a nice few little upgrades, a nice couch, etc. But really, just have a great start to being a homeowner. And so I'm very appreciative for that aspect of it as well. Absolutely wonderful deal. The site I know about from the commercial standpoint, there's a lot of development going on around it. It's fortunately and unfortunately a community in transition through gentrification. I'm just happy that this community is usually traditionally a minority community. I'm happy that I'm able to kind of keep that going, even with some of the new work that's doing here, kind of pushing value and appreciation. And I'm excited for what that means as an investor and a landlord now over the long term, as far as the appreciation and the basis that I've gotten this property at. So.
Yeah, and for you to, I want to reiterate some key points here, folks. I want you to listen. He was given a check at closing. Usually you're going in with a check at closing.
The title company was the lady that was a closing agent. She was like, oh, wow. I thought you owed money. We're actually paying you money. How did you do that?
And that was the Instagram post. You was like, hard work. That's you signing the papers.
A lot of good relationships, etc. So.
Yes. He was given money at closing, and because of the relationships, like-minded people, and it does help that you were in real estate yourself, that you were able to kind of foster this deal and broker it to where it really worked well for you. I mean, didn't the builder, didn't he throw in some extra things with the home as well? Yeah,
so I mentioned the appliances, the stoves, the washer and the dishwashers, the refrigerators, and then even 2 TVs came, 55-inch TVs came with the property. So just an absolutely stellar deal. He doesn't usually do that, but because this was the first property he designed this way, He just wanted to start it off with a bang, and I'm glad I was here to receive that
right.
and more. So
thank you, Donovan.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Definitely that. This is this whole journey has been amazing. I bought my first home October of 1995. I was 22, and I went in. I had to pay earnest money, $500, and I didn't have. No one was giving money back to me because I didn't have the connections you did. Now, due to a divorce, I lost the property. However, I honestly feel like that God is blessing you with what I started, what I was trying to start, not knowing, because you were not even a thought for me at the time. You or your sisters. I wasn't even married to your father. It was just, I bought it all by myself, and I moved in a couple of my battle buddies out at Fort Hood, clean area, and because it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they paid me rent to live there, and that's what helped me pay the mortgage. But man, had I kept that property, I know God. But God told me if I stay fast and do His work, that blessings are coming. And I honestly feel like, I know that by God allowing this opportunity to come your way and to happen the way that it did, that's God's way of smiling on me and my disparities in life that I've experienced to get to this point. What you do today affects you tomorrow. I'm not gonna preach. I'm gonna leave that to
what the old school say. Just in short, there's a blessing in the lesson.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna leave that to my brother, my daddy. But the Bible does say what you do today affects you later. The decisions and your actions that you do today affects you later on in life. And that 10-year journey for you has paid off well. Well done, my son. I know your grandparents are excited. I know your godparents are excited. I know they can't wait to get on that road and head this way. Questions already been asked. What side of town? Where we going? What's the address? I have no idea. That's what I said before I came down. But just put things in perspective. For when Ebony and I came down to help Isaiah move and be a part of the closing, we couldn't wait to move out the hood apartment, okay? When we showed up, Isaiah was like, okay, the shower or the tub don't work. You have to turn on the shower and then the tub. And it was a whole thing. Oh, you can't plug this in over here or that because oh my, when I tell you, man, it was the hood. It was amazing. And the sink was stopped up. We couldn't even wash dishes. So we was like, when is closing? Do you have the keys yet? We could not wait for that day to come. Trust and believe. Well, you was used to it. Me and Ebony was like, oh Lord, well, I don't know what we doing, girlfriend. Well, we got to make this work. We slept on the couch and we made it happen, okay? But that's okay. When that moment came and closing date came and you were officially handed the keys and we came on in and we set up, me and Ebony was like, well, you can go back, but we right here. We good. It's been amazing. So, son, I do want you to know that I can't say enough. I'm so proud of you and the accomplishments that you have made thus far. I know this is only the beginning. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's exactly what in Business 101, when you have a concept that's developed, I believe that sometimes you have to see it in order for entrepreneurs, in order for you to feel that this is real and it's possible. And then once it's happening, you wash, rinse, repeat. Whether what the first concept is a success or a failure, no matter how it turns out, it's the fact that you did it. And I'm so grateful and glad that you did, because this is monumental for our family, for my generation and your legacy. Because there is a difference between generation and legacy. We'll talk about that much later, folks. But I am not going to hold you too much longer. I do have one more question for you. And before I mention that question, I do want to also put out there that if anyone is interested in learning how to build wealth, one of the ways you want to figure out for you how to go from where you are to get to where you want to be, maybe to fix your credit, or maybe you're wanting to develop your business credit, come talk to me. The information will definitely be in the comments section. This will be hosted on YouTube right now. I've made a decision to host the podcast on YouTube until I decide, a different distribution path. But it will definitely be listed in the bio or the write-up of YouTube, so that you can reach out to me. Now, I'm not going to give you my son's information because I want him to be able to remain.
Unless you are a sponsor, reach out and touch. Let him use you to sponsor.
I know that's right. Lay hands.
And if you want, we need the viewership to drive the advertising dollars. Are y'all following?
Exactly.
This is about wealth, right? We try to make some wealth.
So. Exactly. So, exactly. I'm not going to turn you over to my son, but I definitely would love to have that conversation with you. I am definitely experienced of what not to do, and I'm also an experienced person of what to do, and to help get you and your generation and or legacy headed, make that paradigm shift into a different direction. Okay, so last question, so that we can end our conversation, because you and we can talk all day, especially on this subject. What, without giving away a lot to everybody, but just so that people can know that there is more to come. What's next for Isaiah?
What's next? Well, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I may have some coffee.
You're going to have life? I don't need you to have it more abundantly too. Put some work in.
What's next? Well, right now I'm working really, really hard so that over the next few years, I can achieve my first retirement, or have the ability to retire in my early 30s. So that way I can chase the passion of becoming a culturally competent real estate developer and building projects that don't necessarily just gentrify a neighborhood, but gentrify people instead of out, and really build a sense of community while also making a lot of money, and really satisfying those two requirements in various asset classes, whether it's the holding side of it, a holding company behind everything from industrial warehouses on leases to whatever, and to building ground up development that is unique and has some creative uses that the community can even get involved in.
Yes,
that is a long range goal. I don't mind talking about my goals, because I do feel that speaking into existence, it's also a way of accountability.
Law of attraction.
That you told people. So one of my goals is to be a billionaire. I don't hold back on that.
Me too.
My goal with that is simply to give away a lot of money towards the causes and interests that's I feel best represent myself, my family, my community, our country. And I really want to do just have a little fun as well, but more importantly, I think that there's a lot of impact to be made when educating people along the lines of wealth. And so I think my ministry, my calling, my purpose aligns with that.
Yes.
It changes sometimes, as it does with just life. But I do think that's what the next step sort of look like for me in, let's say, a 10-year outlook. But always evolving that plan, because, there's been, even just in these short 2.5 years, there's been so many opportunities for me to do many things, to pivot, to, be in further my entrepreneurial endeavors. So I'm very excited for what's ahead. I don't fully know exactly what that looks like. I don't think none of us really do, but that's kind of what my vision would be ideally.
Well, I would say the best advice I can give you from my experiences of, we're both visionaries. If that was not clear, but we're both visionaries. And as visionary and being futurely forward-minded and thinking, we think of the future. That's why you and I forget a lot about our past. I've shared that conversation with you since being here with you, and we're not designed to hold on.
We don't forget sponsors. I've never forgot a sponsor in my life.
we
And,
don't.
I think somebody sponsored me for the church picnic or something. I don't know what it was
Oh
back
my
in
goodness.
19.
See, we don't do good with, you and I don't do good with holding on to negative energy, and we don't do well with holding on things of the past. People kind of have to give us that nudge. My brother have to talk about something I said or did, and then I go, oh yeah, that's right. But that's because God has equipped you and I to think and plan for the future. Continue to do that. Don't let anything shake or move you. Always check in with God. Always check in with God. Always check in with God. And I know that you have a close relationship with Him, because we're sitting in an evidence of conversations I'm sure you and God have had over the 10-year span, and then some. But always check in with God, and don't let anybody or anything deter you from your goals. They're not dreams, they're goals that will be accomplished in your lifetime. And in mine, I do plan to be around for those moments. And speaking of being around, and we're going to actually close out, folks, like I mentioned earlier, the purpose of this podcast, the numbers game, is to have conversations about health and wealth building, because I believe that it does not make sense for you to be wealthy and have poor health, because then all your money is going to the pharmacy, CVS, Walgreens, and the doctor's office. Just like it doesn't make sense for you to be healthy and not gain wealth. And with that, folks, we're going to close out. My daughter's walking in and it's cold outside. And this has been the Numbers Game with Miss Kim. And you all, until the next time, I'll see you. Hope you just enjoyed the last show. So be sure to hit that bell twice, 1, 2, so you can keep up with your girl. Oh, just look at me making a mess. And I got my fur buddy, King Solomon, with me. See you next time. Peace.